You're listening to Little Pricks Podcast. We're so happy you're here. Get comfortable and enjoy the episode. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. It has been way too freaking long. I am so excited. My name's Devon. This is Fareed. We're back for another episode, and this time we have, give me a drum roll, The Love Series episode 2.
We're back.
We're back. Man, it's been a minute. It probably hasn't been as long as I feel like it's been, but it feels like an eternity.
It hasn't been that long for the viewers. They've only missed 1 week.
Yeah.
We've missed 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we were ahead of schedule, and then we got
behind
behind schedule.
Yeah, now we're behind.
And now we have to work twice as hard.
Well, I guess, yeah. But maybe we should, give some context, because I feel like at this point, actually, not to toot our own horn, but we have like a little following going. We have people that have been actually concerned, like, hey, what's up? We gave the little announcement on Facebook. We gave that. But if you don't follow us on Facebook, then you have no idea why we missed last week. So we can go into that. It's all Fareed's fault. I'll lead with that. We got to be honest with the viewers, Fareed.
You're not wrong. I took 1 week to go travel to Las Vegas.
That was cool, yeah.
To CES, yes.
Yeah.
I went with some very near and dear people to me. Had a great time.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got back, instantly sick.
Yeah.
I was down and out.
Dude, I remember. And you were like, can we record? And I was like, no, we can't record.
You're going to kill me.
I don't want to get sick. What do you mean?
And I kept saying, this show must go on.
Literally, like, you barely sounded alive on the phone, and you were like, so are we recording tonight? And I'm like, no, we're not recording tonight. What do you mean?
I can't disappoint all 12 viewers.
Actually, we're up to, like, between 200 and 300 on Spotify. Pretty stoked about that.
Pretty stoked
On that. So thank
listening.
You guys for listening, because that's all you. Nothing to do with us.
Question to our followers.
Yes.
If you are on Spotify, please go subscribe to us on YouTube. That would really help us.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
We'd appreciate that.
That'd be super cool. Or anywhere else, because, obviously on other platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever, you can't watch the video version. So if you're interested in that, if you like video podcasts, we have those up on YouTube. I recently found out also that you can watch video podcasts on YouTube Music, the music app on your phone. I did not know that.
Yeah. So
you can do that as well. You can also watch video podcasts on Spotify. That is new as of like the last couple years. So if you're not like an avid podcast listener, you might not know that. But regardless, watch us anywhere. Listen to us, and we thank you.
We've got some exciting ideas coming up, too.
No doubt.
We are debating live streaming our prep time.
That's when our bloopers happen. It's always so goofy, man. If you watch to the end of our videos, I always put bloopers at the end. And, man, that's where most of them end up happening, is right when we're setting up. And I don't know why, what gets into you and me. We just are unhinged, man. We just say crazy nonsense. So, also...
Stuff that'll get us canceled.
Well, I don't think it's that bad, is it?
I'd get canceled.
Would you?
Pretty aggressively.
Dang. Well, okay. So if you want to cancel Fareed, make sure you watch till the end of our episodes where we always put the bloopers. If you're not into more like vulgar, dark humor, unhinged nonsense, maybe when we have the end credit, the logo comes up. Just stop right there. Pause, exit.
I want to like these guys.
Yeah, save yourself from the tomfoolery.
That is a thing. And I'm thinking that at some point, we may actually live stream some of these.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? The whole thing. Maybe something is an additional content for some of our viewers. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're going to have some fun with it, though.
No doubt. But without further ado.
Yeah, for no further ado.
Fareed, tell us what we're talking about today, man. We are on the love series.
The love series. We are doing part 2. Part 1 was an introduction to what the love series is about.
Yeah.
And this one is going to start us off with familial love. The love with,
man.
Amongst family.
Yeah. So that,
That's something we had discussed in the first love series.
Yeah, we covered it broadly.
We did cover it broadly, that each form of love is important in our life's development, but we pretty wholeheartedly agreed that familial love is the bedrock. It's where everything starts. And so just like that, that's where we're going to start. Yeah,
no doubt. No doubt. And a good place to start, right? And, we'll just get it out of the way. I'm going to be the person in the discussion that did not have a good experience with that. I'm going to talk about, what life looks like, what growing up looks like, and what life after that looks like when you don't have that really strong familial love, that foundational love in your life. And then Fareed is going to talk about his better experience, which... not that it's without flaw, but it is definitely a more positive experience in the realm of familial love.
And it's very interesting how it has shaped us.
Yeah. Oh,
it's very interesting. Just to kind of throw out a small point out there, right? I had a great, strong familial upbringing.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait to go build my own.
Right.
You not so much. You have zero interest in building one.
Yeah, not in the sense of like having my own children, right?
That's usually what it leads to.
Yeah. I'm excited to be the cool uncle, no doubt.
Yeah, it's funny. And my sister lives in that same realm.
Really?
No idea why.
I want to have her on sometime.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not this week.
Right.
Not this week.
All right. So familial love.
She's busy.
Right.
Well, before we get to familial love.
Yes.
That is one of the 4 loves.
Right.
We have familial. We have friendship, we have romantic, and then we have the self.
The self-love. The one that always gets left out. The middle child, if you will.
The one that gets mocked. Okay. So, let's define it.
Let's define it.
What is familial love? It's going to be that type of love that comes from blood relatives, right? For your parents. It can be from marriage, right? Your wife, husband, your partner.
Sure. Or...
and then we are going to make the joint agreement that it can be friends that you have brought in so close they might as well be your blood.
No doubt. We call that the terms found family. People use that a lot. Mm-hmm.
But I want to be very specific that found family aren't the people that you just hang out with and have a great time, right?
No.
It is a very, very, very strong bond.
Way different category. Yeah, This is not acquaintances. This is not people you drink with on the weekends. This is, maybe you do that with your found family, but it is not that person that you otherwise don't have any interaction with. And it doesn't have to be friends either, right? Like this can be other parents. It doesn't have to be... or other people your age that would
there could be someone else's parents, but yeah.
Right, literally. I mean, you can have those adoptive parents. I had that growing up, and so nonetheless, your found family, not blood related, people that you found in your life that, as you said, may as well at this point be family because you were that close. The bond is that strong.
We've come to an agreement that those are the things that define a familial kind of bond or love.
Yeah.
So the question now becomes, how important is it? What is the importance of that kind of love? And I think we should start at the root, right? Childhood.
Yeah.
Right, when you have your parents, that is the first form of love that you will experience. Right. And the way that goes will absolutely shape the rest of your life.
Yep.
If you have just abysmal, abhorrent parents or childhood, or just a suboptimal childhood with your parents, your familial love there.
Yeah.
That makes your life exponentially harder. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just in so many levels that it's kind of hard to even calculate or comprehend. Yeah. Right?
Well, because it just goes so deep, right? Like those roots reach so deep into who you are as a person at your core, how you perceive the world. It just changes everything. Mm-hmm. Everything, for the better or worse, just depending again on how that situation, how that love developed in your life, early on.
Absolutely.
So,
and obviously each person is different, so the way they interact with that is different.
Yeah.
But it can, in many ways, make or break you. It can make you an unhealthy or a very healthy person. Typically, right? Right. On a usual basis, you have a family that raises kids in a very healthy manner, a lot of love. You tend to get good, strong, healthy adults.
Yeah.
Just kind of how that works out.
Yeah.
When you have a family that doesn't support their children, right? Doesn't really help that child feel loved, feel supported, feel
it doesn't spend
accepted.
time with them. Yeah, it doesn't spend time with them. Doesn't.
The idea of what love is, is twisted and what's the word for it? It's morphed into something pretty ugly.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want to have a nice, good, strong base or foundation with familial love, because it'll change everything. I mean, we were discussing last time, right? It is how children learn to feel the value in themselves.
Yep.
It is the first form of affection that eventually evolves into romantic affection.
Yep.
Right?
Ties into all the different forms of love. Yeah.
And then, of course, it teaches you how to be a good friend. And it teaches, be a good partner, could be a good friend. And it teaches you how to love yourself. Because if your parents love you, well, then you start to see it in yourself.
Yep.
You actually see in a lot of people that don't have that strong familial bond,
right?
Their self-worth tends to
it tanks, plummets at rock bottom, zero, because realistically, like it just shapes the way you view everything too. So like if mom and dad didn't give me love, didn't give me the attention, didn't give me the time, then how can I possibly believe that in my adult life and as I grow older that I deserve that time, that I deserve that love? If my own parents didn't give it to me, the people that gave birth to me, that made me, and so when we talk about the importance, God, it's everything, because it can change the very lens that you look at life through. And there's a quote I have down here, and it hit so hard when I read it. And it was in a book I'm reading right now. It says, "All looks yellow to the jaundiced eye." And so, yikes, right? So toxic familial love or just general lack of it, our first example, it will always have us looking through that jaundiced lens or toxic, abusive love. Our only example, our first example of love even, will have us always believing that love is dangerous and love is not safe. Love is this back and forth bickering. Love is this codependent, very lacking of individuality, et cetera, et cetera. So
for me, this is kind of a bizarre topic.
Yeah. Because you just have such a starkly different experience, right?
Exactly.
So,
but I've gotten to witness firsthand through a partner of mine. She explained to me her experiences and how she was raised. And I will tell you, every ounce of what I heard shred me to pieces.
Wow.
I will tell you right now, I remember one time she was telling me kind of how she was raised, and this is an incredibly strong human being, by the way.
Right.
Has the drive of a train. You're not going to stop her. Which I would assume you'd have to go through some of the stuff she did.
Oh, sure.
She would explain to me how her parents just weren't really there for her. Specifically, her mother was one of the worst culprits here. And man, I broke down in tears listening to that. Wow. I held her, but at that point, I don't know if she was holding me, kind of a thing. Yeah. I was feeling, I don't know if it was sympathy for her or empathy, just feeling the pain she must have felt, and I was absorbing that. And it's something else. Like it just doesn't compute for me.
Right.
I think once you have children, I know when I have children, they're going to be my world.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to imagine, isn't it?
It's tough to imagine. Because I just want to love them. I want to take care of them. I want to give them tough love. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Right? The love of a father. But but the idea of treating them in any way that wouldn't make them feel loved or accepted, Doesn't click for me, man.
Yeah.
And hearing your story doesn't click for me. Doesn't make any sense.
And speaking of my story, so that we're not leaving too much context out of it, maybe just briefly, and we don't have to take like a whole entire deep dive into every aspect of yours and my childhood, but just so that the rest of the episode makes sense, maybe let's just take a dive, because the next section is going to be kind of like the issues that arise from not having that familial love. So let's maybe start with your experience as a child and just a brief summary of, what is your relationship with mom and dad like, and your siblings too, we can touch briefly on, but primarily I think that this topic is really, really, really focusing on parents, I think.
Yeah. My relationship with my parents is amazing. I love my parents. I couldn't imagine a world without them. I don't want to imagine a world without them. Yeah. I know it'll happen someday.
Sure.
My mother and father are my best friends now, right? We've evolved past just that father son or parent and child.
Right. Sure.
Parent and child relationship. My dad and I get along so well. We spend quite a bit of time each week with each other. My mother and I get along really well.
So like at least once a week you're hanging out with mom and dad, yeah?
2, maybe 3 times a week.
Wow. Dude, that's impressive, especially, at your age, at the place you are in your life. Wow, to still have that much time with your family. That's impressive.
I love them to death, man. I want especially after my growth phase I had recently, right?
Sure.
I have this strong mentality of being of service to those that I love.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to do. I want to take care of my parents. I want to take care of my friends, right? I want to help you out in whatever I can.
Sure.
But, partner, make sure they're taken care of, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. It's just the next phase of growth for me, and I have my parents as a reference.
Yeah.
Right? Like I cannot wait to be a husband and a father. Cannot wait. I am so excited. I am ready for that. I had some growing to do. I had reflections of my parents that I could refer to, right? Like my dad, great husband, great guy.
Right.
I've watched him take care of my mom, my sister, and I, and I'm just like, man, that is an example to follow.
No doubt. Good on you.
Yeah.
Good on your dad for being a good dad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll tell him. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Cool.
That's context for me.
Yeah, very well. So then, oppositely for me, man, I mean, where do you start, right?
Let me pause you here for a moment.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's just a funny segue for just this brief second. Have you watched SNL at all?
I have not. I mean, I know what it is, but I don't know.
You need to watch. There's this skit, and they have different variations of it. And there's always like this hick kind of redneck lady at the end of this room. They're interviewing 3 people, and it's always like the first 2 are like they all got abducted by aliens or something, right? How'd it go for you? It was great for me. I was taken up in the light. It was amazing. The next one, oh my goodness, it was like ethereal, and they taught me about life and everything. Then the third one goes, yeah, it wasn't like that at all for me.
Right. I got the probing.
I was clearly not dealing with the top brass over here.
Right,
Kate McKinnon, she's hilarious. I think you should watch it because this is exactly the dynamic that's going on.
Nice.
Yeah, that wasn't at all how that went for me.
Right. Well, with that segue, yeah, oppositely, I did not have that experience. My relationships with my parents just has never been solid, ever. It's always been wishy-washy. It's always been feast or famine. I don't know how else to make that to compute, but it has just really been emotionally, physically. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, their physical presence, their emotional presence.
Did they not feed you at all sometimes?
In every regard. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely something I didn't realize until I was older. But yeah, there was definitely times a lot, it's just there was no structure to us in our relationship. Like, I can count on one hand, outside of like holidays and stuff. Sure, families get together, have dinner together, whatever. But outside of holidays, just the regular mundane of being a family, I can probably count on one hand how many times we had dinner together.
Ouch.
Yeah. So always a rocky relationship, always wishy-washy, never knew where I stood with my parents at any given moment. And a lot of that, I think, just had to do with how busy they were. We had a house fire when my parents and us were all very young. We were on vacation, and this is a super long story, so I'm not going to go all into it. But it was a family feud going on that ended with our house burning down.
Someone burned down your house?
Yeah. So, and my parents were just dirt broke. We had no money to begin with, let alone having a house burned down that consequently, and later on I found out, didn't have insurance on it. So we just got crushed. So my parents had like a few jobs, like not one job, like dad had 2 jobs, mom had 1. No, like both had 2 to 3 at any given time. So I had that just lack of their physical presence in general. And then just emotionally, they had a lot of things that just growing up and becoming adults themselves, they just did not address, they did not deal with in their personal lives, and then as a couple did not deal with. So it left for very somnolent, very absent empty relationships with them, between them and I and my other siblings too, So I don't know. It's a funny feeling, and when people ask me like how I feel about my parents, I do love my parents. They're my parents no matter what, and I don't want people to always hear my voice and always hear me talk and just think, wow, what dirtbag pieces of shit Devon's parents must have been. My parents did the best they could with the information they had at the time. It doesn't excuse what happened, and it doesn't make it okay or brush it under the rug, but it is what it is at this point. And when people ask me, how do you feel about your parents? I do say that I love them, but in the same breath, I feel orphaned. I don't, like, my parents are living, for reference. They are alive. And I don't feel like I have parents. Like, I feel like...
Well, you've got no contact, so...
Well, even before that, right? Like, even before the no contact, I just don't feel like I have any. Like, I've been on my own for as long as I've been able to be on my own. Like, as long as I've had a license and have been able-bodied, which I always have been, and able to work and sustain on my own, I have been, So I just feel, it feels weird for me, like for my brain to think about mom and dad. I just don't feel like I have blood ones. Let me put it to you that way. I guess when I don't have my blood parents, when I think of my actual parents that gave birth to me, it just, nothing pops up in my head. There's no image, right? Like there's no like warm fuzzy feelings of like, yeah, mom and dad, right? I have that thought and that feeling about my, found parents. We talked about that found family, and I won't use my parents' name just because I just don't feel like doing that, but I'll use my found parents' names because, I'm very openly express my love towards them, my gratitude towards them. Jason, Nikki is parents of a friend of mine in high school, and man, those people just took me under their wing, man, and really filled the shoes that they did not have to. And I just can't thank those people enough. In fact, I've been traveling for work. I now landed here in Tucson. I live here permanently, but last time I went home, I called them and I said, hey, I need to talk to you guys in person. And I just sat down at a table and I told them how much I love them. And wow, that's going to get me emotional. And how much their love and how much their time and energy that they poured into me, not even being their son. I'm just a friend of their sons. But they poured into me like I was their son. And, God, man, I would not be the man I am today without those people. Hands down, no doubt about it, right?
God bless them.
Yeah, those people mean everything to me. So anyway, that mine was a little more lengthy, okay. But that's my context.
I want to mention something there, man.
Yeah, sure.
You've painted 2 very different pictures of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to just, as a friend, make a suggestion.
Sure.
To maybe extend your parents a little kindness. Only because...
In what regard do you mean?
From the sounds of it, they had multiple jobs, right?
Yeah.
And they did it to take care of you kids, but the trade-off was they couldn't be there. They physically couldn't be there because they had to take care of the priorities of life, right? Make sure you guys, at least for the most part, had food.
Not so much, right? So like there's some context missing there. I do see what you're saying.
Yeah.
A valid statement.
Yeah,
totally valid statement.
Just a little mercy.
To be human and mercy with some people, but here's the context that I'm going to give now that I wasn't going to before.
Okay.
My mom and dad had a choice to buy a home that they could afford and land they could afford, and that was reasonable and not such a big stake of their income. They chose not to do that for their own dreams, right? Like, I mean, I get it. People have dreams. People have things that they want. And a big farm and lots of land was not in their price range. It was not. And they did that on the hope that we would all live there, which, again, you can't really consult a kid about and really make those decisions based off the assumption that kids would want to stay in one place and on the same farm forever and ever and always. And that just really doesn't make any sense. And then even when their lives financially got easier, the lack of the work that they did in their individual lives emotionally and as a couple, still when they had the free time to be around each other and to be around us and be a family, they chose to spend away from the home. So,
and I'm going to argue back.
Sure.
That they're human and made mistakes. Mm-hmm. I mean, their eyes were bigger than their budgets. Had no one else to teach them better, right?
Right.
They did the best they could with the information they had.
Yep. And I acknowledge that. No doubt.
I'm saying that, I'm sure they noticed a lot of the mistakes they made, and then them running away from it is potentially the only coping mechanism they knew at that point. I'm not trying to defend them, but I am trying to say, like...
I mean, you are defending them, but
I'm
understand
simply saying
where you're coming from.
Maybe show some grace and look at it from a different lens. I'm not defending what they've done. I'm only asking you to look at it differently, potentially. That's it. Right?
Right. And I've been there, right? Like anybody that has gone no contact with their family, and we discussed this in the no contact episode, right? Nobody that has ever gone no contact with their family hasn't looked at it from every perspective they possibly could. Going no contact is an absolute last-ditch effort. And if people look at me, and I'm sure you're not the only person that thinks that. I'm sure there are viewers that are like, Jesus, buddy, like have some grace, like give them a chance. They're human, you know what I mean? It's their first time living life too. Sure, it is. But considering that perspective is not something, not a stone that has been unturned, for sure.
I think for you, I would argue that for a lot of people, no contact is like a first resort.
I don't think so, man. I think you should talk to some more people that have gone no contact.
But I'm just saying it's a statement that might be a little too specific because we don't know. Everyone deals with it differently.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I think you have a lot of you like to take a lot of perspective. You like to have a lot of different insights. Well, sure. You ask a lot of questions.
It's like the only way to make sure you're making what you believe to be the right decision, right?
And I think you're healed enough to do those things.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that not everyone has that. I think that people have a lot more work to do than we probably give it credit for.
Fair.
But that's just a thought. That's a side tangent
totally.
we had.
Side tangent, and I think that's valuable for the listeners to hear, no doubt. Yeah, right. Definitely. And just because, guys, I'm the no contact, and I'll be honest, I advocate for no contact, but not until you've exhausted other resource. Efforts, because they are your family, right? And no matter how you want to shake a stick at it, I even say the statement that just because they're your family doesn't mean that I have to put up with an extra amount of shit from you. That is true. But I will do just a teeny tiny little bit more just because you're my family. You know what I mean? Come on, like even my non-blood family, my found family, you, or definitely, yeah. I'll even use you as an example. Like we've had some moments where we had to have some serious talks. Like I'll be honest, an acquaintance, probably not. Like I definitely, you have more grace than other people, no doubt.
It's like the strength of your bond dictates how much you'll put in effort to save a relationship.
Sure.
Which I would go, because of the way I was brought up, right? I have such strong bonds. At least I feel I have an insight on what is real and what looks real versus what isn't. So that is how I go around creating relationships, right? If I can see some sort of semblance of what I saw growing up, right, I will gravitate towards that.
Wow.
If
okay.
and I will put in more effort towards
that. That's
a
real good point. Yeah, and I've had to really work hard on that. As an adult, as a grown man inside of my relationships, to not be so quick to sever ties with people when I start seeing it even have, very minute similarities to my relationship with my parents, right? You have to work on that a ton. So, and I think that's a good segue into our next section of the episode. When you don't have that familial love, when that love isn't experienced, what happens? What does that look like for people? So I don't know how much, you can take the floor on that if you want. I don't know how much input you have on that.
It just builds instant trauma.
It
just starts to build instant trauma in children, I'd say, because they don't understand it at first.
Oh, no. Right? How could they, right? They're kids.
But they definitely sense that, like, they're not receiving enough to fill their cup.
That's fair.
And then you go out there and you start to try to cope with the pain of not having your cup filled. Yeah. And that presents itself in different ways. Some people.
Well, it's disorienting, right? Like when you don't have that and many other people do, or other people just in general do, it's disorienting because, one, you're not going to get an instruction manual to go and fix that, right? Like you're going to have to kind of just be trial and error out in life and be like, okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. Why does this keep happening?
How many bridges do you burn before you figure it out, kind of a thing?
Yeah, and I can say that firsthand. There's a lot of bridges that I burned in my life, in friendships, romantic relationships, doesn't matter. We had that discussion where this familial is that foundational love. Well, I can tell you right now, not having that foundation, oh yeah, I sank in quicksand so fast.
That right there. Not having that familial bond taught to you and ingrained in you. When you go out to build further relationships, it's like you're building them on soft sand or quicksand.
Sure. Absolutely. It's the foundational love, man. And I burned bridges with friends, with romantic partners. I burned bridges with my damn self. I abandoned myself. I still, to this day, am working through, eliminating those self-abandoning, self-sabotaging behaviors.
Which reminds me then, that actually builds something else in you. It creates trust issues.
Oh, yeah.
You can't trust people. You can't trust yourself.
You can't trust yourself. Big one. I'll pause you there because, there was a time in my life in my romantic relationships where I was like, I don't even trust myself to seek out and find, the right partner or a partner that is just good for me in general, right?
Yeah.
So, wow.
And then you start to become overly self-reliant on yourself.
Yeah. Can't trust anybody. Can't ask for help. Can't, give it really, to be honest. But, and you just want to do everything yourself. No, I got it. No, man, I'll buy your lunch. No, it's fine. I'll get my own.
I will admit that is an issue I deal with. I just don't know where it came from.
Some digging, I'm sure.
I've been working on it, man. I'm overly self-reliant. I've had partners tell me, like, why don't you ask me for help? Right? And I try to look back through my childhood.
It makes you feel funny, right?
It makes me feel like I don't want to burden you.
Yeah.
I can handle this myself. I don't want to burden you, right? Here's a weird one, right? Girlfriend would be, like, scratching my back.
Sure.
I'd be like, you don't have to do that.
Wow, that bad, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I'll take back scratches, Homer.
I love them.
Right now.
I love them.
But
I feel like I would start to be like, but isn't she getting tired? Isn't she getting bored with this?
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting story. Get you a drink of liquid death.
I'm trying.
I'm going to put a poll on our next story on probably Instagram and Facebook of those who vote Fareed to start taking Zyrtec or something every day. Some kind of antihistamine so that you don't be coughing and clearing your throat.
Listen. February 2nd, I get new health insurance. I'm going to go look into why I have problems with my lungs, okay? Thank you. In the meantime, please remember, I am just getting over being sick.
There's stuff Anybody that's listened to any of our other episodes, that's a facade.
It's especially bad right now.
No, terrible.
It is especially bad right now.
This is the commonality. This is how it goes. This is the dynamic. It's somebody, please, someone out there who has good experience mixing music, make a beat out of Fareed clearing his throat. Please, do it. I'll pay good money. I'll Venmo you $50.
We're going to get that one.
Yes, please, someone. And then email it to us, littleprakespod@gmail.com.
That'd be great, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. It'll be our new theme song. And then you can build an over-reliance on building bonds.
Yeah.
Right? You start to just do them too quickly. Typically with the wrong people.
Or you get that like codependent, right? Like you lose that individuality in like every relationship you're in, right?
And then you start to wonder, well, why do I keep getting burned? Why do people keep hurting me?
Why do people keep saying I'm smothering them? Why do people keep saying I'm controlling this, that, the other, right?
And then you maybe overpressure on partners.
True.
Because now it needs to fulfill all the things that you were missing as a child.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff.
For clarity, not your partner's responsibility. Pause the video. Not your partner's responsibility. That is on you. And man, I'll just call myself out. Been there.
Yep.
Been there where my partners had to fill shoes way, way, way too big, and that just were not for them to wear anyway, because I didn't have that familial love. I didn't have that structure. I didn't have that self-worth, consequently. And that put double, if not triple, the amount of pressure on my romantic partners, because I could not self-soothe, man. I just couldn't. Any insecurity, any self-doubt, anything negative emotionally, I could not cope with on my own.
Which I think that's a good podcast to do at some point, self-soothing.
Wow, that'd be a good one.
That's a good one.
I agree.
I'll have to write that one down.
Yeah.
So then comes the real tough part of all of this.
God, it gets worse.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
How do you recover or build familial love bonds? How do you fix it? You know you're messed up now. The question becomes, okay, how do I improve this? How do I fix it so that I can start building on hard terra firma, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, the goal would be to, fix it. Jesus, no more quicksand. Bring in some gravel, bring in some rocks so we can have a decent foundation to build this house on, man.
I have a few things where I think we can figure this out.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You lead.
The first place is acknowledgement.
Oh, sure.
Acknowledge you have a problem. Acknowledge that you weren't given those kinds of love. It hurts. It created damage.
Right. Well, because that's hard, right? You don't want to be like, man, I'm fucked up.
Yeah. And then give yourself permission to feel.
Yeah. Give yourself permission to feel, man. And I love that book. There's a book called Permission to Feel, and God, I love that book so much. And it's such a good skill to have. Please go read it if you have trouble. I would say if you're a person sitting at this point in the podcast and going like, wow, I don't really know how to even begin to do that, to admit that I have the problem and give myself permission to have those feelings that come with admitting that I have to acknowledge this horrendous part of me and of my past, read that book.
I'd say Permission to Feel, heal, rebuild, and trust.
Learn to trust again, man.
That's
and that's scary, right?
It's terrifying.
That's big. It's terrifying. When you don't have anything to go off of, you don't have that foundation, you don't have any rule books to follow, it's scary. Because, again, you look through that jaundiced eye, and everything is yellow.
That's why we call it nutting up.
Right.
It's not fun. It's not easy. It's scary.
So scary, man.
I'm doing my damnedest, man.
No, I know. It's okay. I am giving you a hard time, but I am going to post that poll.
As you should.
Yeah. Learn to trust again, man. Big time. So what next? What do we have?
The next portion is going to be fine. You've acknowledged all these things.
Yeah.
You have to set a clear intention.
Yeah.
I have intent. I'm going to visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out there and build the love that may or may not have been experienced maybe to the full extent or to the right extent, but I'm going to go out and set myself up to do this, right?
Yeah.
And allow the opportunity for people to prove it is safe to be loved.
Big time. Give people the opportunity to prove that love is not dangerous, to change that lens that you're looking through.
And there's the flip side of that, right? By allowing people the opportunity to love you, you also have to give yourself the opportunity to be loved.
That's a big one.
I struggled with that one. I had a great upbringing.
Sure. And then also,
my problems stem from other places, though.
Yeah, valid. So, part of that, we say it's scary, and people are like, well, what the hell? How are you supposed to do that? Well, back to that acknowledging, acknowledge that. Yeah, and for me, acknowledge it's scary. And then for me, I had to recognize that one isolated experience, it was a big one, like not having that familial love is huge, but that was an isolated experience with unique people who have uniquely challenging lives and that live lives just as complex as all of us. And again, that statement of they did the best they could with the information that they had. Like my parents, my family that I don't talk to, they are not everybody. You can't possibly just generalize everybody else in the entire freaking planet into this bucket of love is dangerous, I'm going to avoid it, or you're going to be on this super tight leash, you're not going to have any leeway with me.
Agreed.
It starts with that. That love that I had doesn't define all love.
Agreed. That's the scary part of it.
And take your time. If you need to take your time in this spot, I'll be honest. Damn, years it took me. And that doesn't mean you have to take everybody years, but like spend as much time really making yourself believe that statement as you need. That kind of love, that example of love is not all love. So,
which brings us to our next portion of it, right?
Yeah.
And that one is learn, which means in this case, learn, imitate, seek out positive examples, and replicate what you're seeing.
Sure.
Look for that love. See what it looks like. Look at a family at church that is bonding with each other. Look at a family at a park that is sharing. Look at friends that are so close to each other. They'll die for each other. Learn to see how they behave.
Yeah.
Learn to see how they act with each other.
Yeah. What
they say, what they do. Right, the way they think about each other.
Well, and a good example for me is again, and I wrote it down here, Jason Nicky. My found parents in my life who gave me that example of what it looks like to be a close family, and I'll never forget it to this day, man. It is something I'll die never forgetting this experience. And I went on vacation sometime in high school. I think it was my junior year. Either way, I went on vacation with Jace, Nikki, Buddy Keegan, handful of our other friends. And man, it's just the time of my life. I'll just never forget it. I will never, ever, ever forget that vacation. We fished. We rode rides. We did everything, man. And it was just so wholesome. Like, it was funny. Nikki said, she was like, man, I'm kind of impressed, because we were in high school. She's like, I imagine you guys would just, be hellions the whole week, but you guys just hung out and just enjoyed everything. And we did. We went fishing, and I'll never forget. And God, it damn near make me cry every time I tell the story. But we were fishing on the beach, and it was so much fun. It was so awesome. And I was just having a hard time, man. I kept breaking my damn line, because it was just fishing I wasn't used to. It had a big, super heavy weight on the end of it to keep it so it could sit in one spot, but the bait could float back and forth in the water. I kept breaking it. And Jace, by the time he had done it like 3 times, I was like, Jace, I'm so sorry, man. He's like, what are you sorry for? I was like, well, God, I just keep messing up. I just keep breaking it, because I'm used to my dad being pissed something, he breaks something, whatever. He said, you don't worry about it, man. He said, just fish and have fun with your friends, all right? I said, why? I said, why are you not mad? He said, because I'm dad. He said, because I'm dad.
That is touching.
And he said, that's what I do. He said, now you let me fix this pole and you don't worry about it. And you just fish with your friends and you have fun. And I'll just never forget that, man. Because I just...
I don't think I'll ever forget that one.
That man just loved me. He loved me like I was his son. He loved his actual sons so well and so amazing. And that man... Wow, it is honestly a large part of the man I am today and a large part of why I'm still here, man. It's huge.
You need to call those people on a regular basis.
Yeah. Big time. I agree. Yeah. So I don't even know where we were at. It's okay. We lost our third angle.
Do we need it?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, sorry, guys. We just lost one of the cameras, but it's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't even know where we were. Wow, that really took me back there for a minute.
Man.
But yeah, so learn, imitate, and seek out positive examples of how to receive and have that familial love and that experience, and replicate it, right? Replicate it in your own family that you create one day, replicate it in your friendships, or even try to replicate it with your family that you do have. Maybe try to make amends,
Try to fix it.
Try to
fix
an
it,
option. So, wow. Yeah, so that's my good experience. So it feels good.
He's got
actually.
something, guys.
No, it does. It feels really good to actually share. I'm glad. This episode's really healing for me. Because despite not having that experience with my blood parents, I did have that experience nonetheless.
Somewhere.
I did have it somewhere. I had it with my found family. And there's other examples too, right? Like there's plenty of other people. There's plenty of other parental figures. My mom's parents. I still, growing up and still to this day, have very good like parental relationships with, and you know, my aunt and uncle, and just other, you know, sets of what would have been parents that aren't actually my parents. You know, I did find that in other places, and the viewers can too. You know, you guys can find that and replicate that, and find healing in that in other places. It doesn't have to be with your bloodborne parents. So
absolutely. And so the goal becomes learn, imitate, seek out positive examples.
Yeah,
positive
absolutely.
Examples, and replicate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you don't have it, go out and find it, go out and build it. You know, that means going out, maybe finding a partner, building a life, building a family, right?
Yeah.
I know that for me, a lot of that comes down to my faith, my religion, right?
Sure.
It's not religion, so to speak, but religion is the tool for it. I know for you, it's music.
Yeah, for me, music, it's my friendships, it's my romantic relationships, it's like I said, those other, you know, parental figures that weren't my blood parents that I find that healing in. And
but that's the community that you build with those people, right? It's not just religion for me; it's the community that I find amongst people that
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
know, that worship, right? For you, it's people that you go maybe build a band with, and you create those type
or
bonds.
like the mountain bike. I do the mountain biking too, or you know, I go on trips with them and ride the mountain bikes. Yeah, that's fair.
But being very specific that those aren't just friends. You create friends with some of those, but maybe some of those you become a lot closer with. To familial bonds. I don't want to confuse friendship with a familial bond.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like we were saying, marriage, making kids, making
you know, that's a pretty good way to go about it, right? Had a shitty family, have one of your own. That's way better, right?
Yep. I you know, just because the first try didn't work out doesn't mean the next one can't.
Right. Yeah. Right? And well, in your control of that one, right? Like you're the parent.
Yep.
You know,
I always joke that what is having kids? It's going out and building your best friends.
You always say that, yeah.
I do. That's what happened with me and Dad, man. Like I know my dad had a rough upbringing. He had a great father, mother that tried, but you know, he had some things that happened in his life.
Yeah.
That meant he didn't have his original mother, right? So things got a little complicated for him. Yeah. And so the way he sees it is he effectively built one of his best friends.
Yeah.
Here I am.
And also, you know,
and my sister, of course.
In the context, I wanted to also bounce off of what you said, that your dad had kind of a rough upbringing, but still turned out and was and still is an amazing father. I'll credit my mom's dad for that. You know, my mom's parents, I still talk to them. And fantastic example of that, right? Like my grandma had a pretty good upbringing, but like my grandfather, god awful, like heinous shit that I will not speak of on the podcast. But that man is amazing. He's the most loving, delicate, gentle, hardworking man that I know in my entire life. And I actually, speaking of calling people, I just called him yesterday and told him all about how I felt about him, because I was just thinking of him.
People deserve it.
I was just thinking of him, you know, and I called him to tell him that, you know, so to credit him also. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to my parents because they really, really did a great job, in my opinion. They spoiled us in ways that, you know, I don't want to say we didn't deserve, but like, man, they treated us so well, and I love them to death. And I want to go extend that familial bond to not just my parents, but my family in general, right? My aunts. Holy cow, was I raised in a family full of love.
That's cool, man.
I come from a Hispanic family, and they treat us like little princes and princesses. Man, you know, and then of course our aunts treat us like you know, royalty, and then our uncles treat us like they give us that little tough love.
Oh yeah.
I had amazing family growing up, and I'm very grateful. And so now when I see that kind of love out there, I gravitate towards it. And I want to give a shout out to to some, you know, the people I went to Las Vegas with.
Yeah.
That kind of love that they share with me, I call them my family.
Wow.
You know, this is my ex's family, and they are just some of the most amazing people in the world to me. Very
cool, man.
And so, yeah, I built those bonds with people, and it's out there, whether you've kind of seen it or not. You can make your family.
Yep. You can make your family. You can find your family. And that's one of the biggest points, you know, that I like to make is that, you know, you can find it. Just because you didn't have it in your blood family doesn't mean you can't go get it. So I don't want like my side of the story to be like super discouraging or make people feel like, well, fuck, you know, you can find it.
You absolutely can. I have one more shout out.
Yeah.
My Canadians.
Yeah. Wow.
They have taken me in and taken care of me in ways that, you know, like above and beyond what friends do.
Yeah.
right? And then you and I are there as well.
Yep.
I've built
you and me, and I've got other people, that I can name off for sure, especially back in West Virginia.
There's friends and there's people you would trust with your PIN number.
Yeah, dude. He's talking about me. I know his PIN number to unlock all his devices.
Yep, you do. So that brings us to the conclusion, right? We recognize that familial love, the real blood-based format of it is the essence of what we become as adults. It teaches us how to love. It teaches us how to grow. It teaches us how to seek out romantic partners. It teaches us how to find friends.
It teaches us everything, right?
Everything.
Man, you can really credit a lot of the reason, a lot of the motivation for what we do as humans based off of love, right? Like you don't go work your ass off, bust your ass to feed a family just because it's something to do. You do it because you love them, because you die for your family,
and it's
right?
And you find that as a sense of responsibility.
Sure.
That responsibility in that what you love.
Yep.
And so we realize that it's absolutely crucial.
Oh God,
It's absolutely the most important thing you can do is to have that love. Go find that love. Go understand the meaning of it, and heal your version of it if it's damaged.
Yep.
Right. And then seeing that love helps you go and replicate it.
Yeah.
And it gives you a sense of purpose in life, right?
No doubt.
At least for me, and this comes somewhat out of religion and somewhat out of just what it takes to be a man, in my case, right?
Sure.
I'm a male, so when you have that love and you start to live for others, you have a purpose greater than yourself. And that sense of responsibility, which stems from your childhood and how you're loved, helps you love others, helps you live a more fulfilling life.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, when I lived for myself and just myself, constantly miserable, constantly anxious, constantly worrying about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
When I started living for other people, for a higher power, I'm at peace.
Good on you, man.
You know?
Good for you, dude.
And I think that starts with loving others.
Yeah. Loving others, for sure. Replicating that love that you didn't have. And like you said, you can do that with your own family that you already have. You can do it with the family that you create. You become a parent, you have children. You can do that with your found family. In my situation, with your, found parents, your found other siblings. And, you can correct it. I corrected it. You, the listener, can correct it. This does not have to define you. This does not have to be the end of your journey, man.
And everyone's journey is different. Ours looks a certain way, right? Doesn't mean it's going to look like ours.
Yeah.
It may not sound remotely like ours, and that's okay.
That is and if it does, tell us. We want to hear from you guys. Especially with topics like this where you and I just always usually have like a 180 of each other on experiences. Not always, but like definitely in this scenario, 180 opposite. But that doesn't mean that there can't be like a 270 in there. You know what I mean?
That's fine. And for you guys as the audience, tell us your thoughts, tell us your experiences. I want to hear what you guys went through and how your relationship with a familial style of love goes. It helps us reflect a little bit better as well.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. And every time somebody's reached out, it's given me that new perspective of, wow, like I didn't think of it that way. So
absolutely.
That's our perspectives. That's how we feel about familial love. That's my experience with it. That's Fareed's experience. But we absolutely, with everything in us, love hearing from you guys. We're excited to be back here and recording for you guys. We feel, speaking on the topic, we feel a sense of family with you guys.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're after, man. So with that being said, guys, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe. Talk to us. Interact.
Absolutely.
We want to hear from you guys, and tell your friends. Share this if this is helpful.
Yeah. Let it stimulate conversation, right? Like if there's a conversation that you've been needing to have with somebody, let this be the start of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back again next week with another episode of something.
Yep.
We have some good stuff in the pipeline.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you then.
All right. My name's Devon.
My name is Fareed.
You were listening to Little Pricks Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Cool, man. Okay. Mic check here. Okay, gentleman and a fucking scholar. Wow.
Say all the nice things you want. I'm still not having sex with you.
Well, that's a damn shame, I can tell you that. I am amazing to have sex with.
I'm simply a god.
Nope, that ain't gonna work. I'm about to close that door. Sounds funny.
Whose phone number is this? Is this important?
I have no idea. Sir,
What
the fuck are you doing?
That caught so fast.
What the fuck are you doing?
That caught on fire so fast.
Good lord. Seriously. I mean,
I gotta even it out.
What? Sir, don't set off a fucking fire. Like, put your mic down and get ready.
There's no fire alarm in here.
Yeah, you're probably right. Nothing's up to code here, I doubt.
Nothing is up. Wow, I sound so good.
All right. Okay, here we go. I love that. Thank you. This is the tiniest, strangest little mouse I've ever felt in my hands ever.
Not about size.
Quit talking so close to your mic.
I will speak so close.
Now that's better. Yeah, you can whisper.
No.
Just don't do it too long. It might turn me on. We've been off. Dude, we're on one. Oh my God. It's been too long since we recorded.
It's been a minute.
It's been way too long.
It's been a hot,
way
smoking
too
minute.
Long.
So this means it can only go one way.
What's that?
Well.
Valid.
Or someone's getting an erection.
Who knows?
Oh, no, I know.
Yeah. He's like, I can already tell you. All right. You ready, buddy? You got everything set up?
No.
I'll do your...
I'm in.
Do your thing. I'll do it on the correct side of the microphone.
Oh, that's so good.
You were missing the best part.
No, I wasn't. I got the best part.
All right.
They call me the cream machine.
The cream machine. They call me Dr. Cream.
Dr. Jones? Dr. Jones.
All right, buddy. When you're ready to go live, you let me know.
My thing's still loading. I don't know why.
Huh.
I don't know. It's probably a lot of devices on the mini Wi-Fi. We are the little pricks.
Indeed. For the sake of the angle of your face, you might have to lower your mic a bit.
Open it, you dirty, dirty scoundrel. Man, playing some Mario would be fun today.
Yeah. Mario Kart is pretty cool.
I have a Nintendo Switch. I now have my PC. I am just rocking it.
Yeah, and also, can I close the other tabs in this?
No, stop. Don't touch those.
Why?
I left you on the tab you belong on. You do nothing else.
You wonder why your other one's taking so long, sir.
They're not doing anything. The tabs are loaded, sir.
Mm-hmm. I don't like this mouse. I don't even have big hands.
You do have tiny hands.
I have tiny hands.
You have actually abnormally small hands.
And why? Why buy a mouse this size?
Because it's portable. Look at the laptop it goes to. It's super easy to take with me.
It just feels strange. I don't like it.
Well,
I'm also spoiled on like a mouse that's made for editing. You have a really, really nice mouse.
That is a really nice mouse. I'm just saying, luckily, it's not what you have to deal with. It's what I have to deal with.
Valid.
And the only reason I bought it is so I can game on it.
You're going to game with this?
Yeah, on that.
Wow.
It's not heavy-duty
I was
gaming.
going to say, what kind of internals does this thing have? It looks like a dinosaur. Looks like you got Windows fucking 97 on it.
It's Windows 11.
An exaggeration. A joke, sir.
Oh, there we go. It's loaded.
Cool.
Okay. I am up. I'm rolling.
Okay.
I'm shrooming.
I'll lead on the intro, yeah.
Don't look at me with those eyes. Oh, not the tongue. Spell broken. Got it. Thank you. You had me for a moment, and then it was gone.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. 3. Get all your coughs out. You ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2,